Those primitive monkeys shouldn't even be allowed in the conclave, let alone given combat privileges, I grumbled, adjusting my ceremonial cape as our delegation approached the massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber. Commander Varric shot me a warning glance, his four eyes narrowing simultaneously. Ambassador Jorax, mind your words. The humans have ears everywhere. Good. Let them hear me, I snorted, not bothering to lower my voice. What are they going to do? Challenge me to a duel? As that would prove my point precisely. The truth was, I had never actually met a human. You in our delegation had. Earth had only been discovered 36 standard cycles ago, practically yesterday in galactic terms. Yet somehow these upstart bipeds had managed to secure themselves a seat at the table of the most prestigious governing body in 12 star systems. The massive doors parted with a resonant hum, revealing the grand circular chamber beyond. Representatives from 27 species filled the tiered seating, their murmurs creating a symphony of clicks, whistles, and guttural sounds that the universal translators transformed into a comprehensible buzz of political chatter. Delegation from Krevax, welcome, announced the speaker, a willowy Halaxian whose translucent skin rippled with bioluminescent patterns. The emergency session regarding Resolution 7729 will commence momentarily. Resolution 7729. The very thought of it made my facial ridges flush with indignation. The humans were petitioning for full combat rights in the Galactic Defense Force, as if their inclusion in diplomatic and scientific divisions wasn't troublesome enough. Our delegation took our assigned seats, and I found myself directly across from the human representatives. There were 3 of them, 2 males and 1 female, if I was interpreting their secondary sexual characteristics correctly. They looked absurdly soft, with their exposed skin and lack of natural armor. The tallest one caught me staring and had the audacity to smile, showing his flat, pathetic excuse for teeth. Dr. Parker Mason, he said, approaching me with an extended hand, a human greeting gesture I had been briefed on but found distasteful. Earth's military liaison to the conclave. You must be Ambassador Jorax. I reluctantly pressed my scaled palm against his fleshy one. Your recognition algorithms serve you well. He laughed. Actually laughed. No algorithms needed. You are the only Krevaxian who's been publicly calling us hairless apes unfit for space travel. Before I could formulate a suitably cutting response, the central podium illuminated, and the speaker called for order. Esteemed delegates, we convene today to discuss and vote upon Resolution 7729, proposed by Earth's delegation, seeking to remove species-based restrictions on combat roles within the Galactic Defense Force. Earth Representative Olivia Nakamura will present their case. The human female rose with surprising grace for such an ungainly species. She was smaller than her male counterparts, but something in her bearing suggested a quiet strength. Honored members of the conclave, she began, her voice clear and measured. For 6 cycles, humans have served with distinction in diplomatic, logistical, and scientific capacities within the conclave structure. We have proven ourselves valuable allies. Yet we remain barred from combat positions due to outdated misconceptions about our species. Misconceptions? I couldn't help myself. Your species still engages in territorial conflicts on your own planet. The speaker shot me a disapproving glance. Ambassador Jorax, please observe protocol. Nakamura nodded in acknowledgement. The ambassador's concern is precisely why we are here today. Yes, humanity has a complex history of conflict. But what many see as our greatest weakness is actually our strength. We understand warfare at a fundamental level because we have experienced it throughout our development. Is that supposed to reassure us? Called out Representative though lack of the Mrendian collective, his voice box creating the characteristic warble of his species. Your understanding of warfare is precisely what terrifies the rest of us. The chamber erupted in murmurs of agreement. I felt a surge of satisfaction seeing the humans on the defensive. The second human male stood up. Their records identified him as General Andrei Volkov. Unlike the others, he wore what appeared to be a ceremonial military uniform adorned with colored ribbons and metallic emblems. With respect. Met, he began, his accent peculiar even through the translator, you fear what you do not understand. The Skith incursion approaches our borders, and the Defense Force needs every advantage. Humans offer unique tactical perspectives and physical capabilities that complement existing force structures. Physical capabilities? Scoffed Representative Gala of the methane-breathing Jorians. Your bodies are fragile. No natural armor, limited sensory capacity, and laughably specific environmental requirements. Dr. Mason stepped forward again. If I may address this point specifically, what the honorable representative sees as weaknesses are actually evolutionary adaptations that serve us well in combat scenarios. He tapped his wrist device, and a holographic display materialized in the center of the chamber. Humans evolved as persistence hunters, he explained as the display showed simplified anatomical diagrams. We lack the speed of a Vexian or the strength of a Krevaxian, no offense, Ambassador Jorax, but we possess extraordinary endurance. We can literally chase prey until it collapses from exhaustion. Fascinating evolutionary strategy, commented a Xyloxian scientist, their compound eyes gleaming with interest, but hardly relevant to modern combat. On the contrary, Volkov interjected, modern combat requires exactly this kind of adaptability and persistence. Furthermore, human shock resistance is unparalleled among conclave species. The hologram shifted to display comparative trauma responses. I leaned forward despite myself, genuinely curious. Humans can withstand extreme physical trauma and continue functioning, Mason continued. Our cardiovascular system includes redundancies that prevent immediate death from most penetrating wounds. Our bones regenerate. We have evolved to survive injuries that would incapacitate many other species. And yet a simple atmospheric change would kill you instantly, I pointed out. The Defense Force can't design specialized environments for every human soldier. Nakamura stepped forward. We aren't asking for special accommodations, Ambassador. We are asking for the opportunity to serve where we can be most effective. Not every mission requires methane breathers or high-gravity specialists. Tactical diversity is strength. The debate continued for hours, with representatives from across the galaxy weighing in. The Arthrosians worried about human unpredictability. The Vexians questioned their discipline. The Xyloxians were concerned about integration with existing unit structures. And throughout it all, the humans remained frustratingly reasonable, addressing each concern with data and pragmatic solutions. It was maddening. How could we continue to exclude them without appearing prejudiced or, worse, afraid? As the session took a brief recess, I found myself at the refreshment station alongside Dr. Mason. Your persistence is admirable. If misguided, I told him, selecting a nutrient capsule compatible with my digestive system. He smiled again. Humans did that constantly, I noted. You know, on Earth we have a saying, the proof is in the pudding. My translator glitched momentarily. Pudding? Pudding? It means talk is cheap. Actions prove worth. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. The Skith are massing at the Epsilon sector border. Everyone knows it, but nobody wants to discuss it openly. When they come, and they will come, you will be glad to have humans fighting alongside you. The Skith are a manageable threat, I replied dismissively. The Defense Force has contained their expansion for 3 centuries. With all due respect, Ambassador, that's because you haven't faced a full-scale invasion. The Skith have been testing defenses, not committing to actual warfare. Their recent communications suggest a change in strategy. I blinked in surprise. How would you know about Skith communications? That intelligence is restricted to Level 1 security clearance. Mason's expression remained neutral. Let's just say humans are good at obtaining information. Before I could pursue this disturbing revelation, the speaker called the session back to order. The final vote was approaching. Before we proceed to voting, announced the speaker, the Earth delegation has requested a practical demonstration to address concerns about human combat capabilities. This was unprecedented. Practical demonstrations weren't part of standard protocol. Nakamura stepped forward. We understand that words alone cannot convey the unique advantages humans bring to combat situations. Therefore, we propose a controlled combat exercise against any volunteer species the Council selects. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Such a bold move. This is irregular, the speaker noted, but given the nature of the resolution, perhaps informative. Are there any volunteers to participate in this demonstration? Before I could consider the implications, Commander Varric stood up beside me. The Krevaxian delegation volunteers. I stared at him in shock. Commander, what are you doing? I hissed. Yes. Proving a point, he replied quietly. I have studied human combat capabilities. They are no match for our natural advantages. This will end their petition once and for all. The terms were quickly established. Simulated combat scenario in the training annex, with non-lethal weaponry and standard protection fields. Commander Varric would represent the Krevaxian delegation, while General Volkov would represent the humans. As we filed into the observation gallery overlooking the training annex, I felt a flutter of concern. Varric was a decorated warrior with over 40 cycles of combat experience, but something about Volkov's confident demeanor unsettled me. The training annex reconfigured itself into an urban warfare scenario, artificial structures, variable terrain, and numerous obstacles providing cover. Both combatants were equipped with standard-issue pulse rifles modified to deliver harmless but detectable energy signatures instead of lethal plasma bursts. Combatants ready, announced the automated system. Engagement commencing in 3, 2, 1. What followed was not at all what I expected. Commander Varric moved with characteristic Krevaxian efficiency, utilizing his superior strength to quickly gain a high vantage point. Our species' natural armor and enhanced vision made him a formidable opponent in any combat scenario. By all logical measures, he should have dominated this exercise. But Volkov, the human, moved differently. Where Varric was methodical and powerful, Volkov was unpredictable and fluid. He didn't seek the obvious tactical positions. Instead, he stayed low, using minimal cover and constantly moving. Not once did he remain still long enough to present a clear target. "What is this strategy?" muttered Representative Tholak beside me. "He's exposing himself unnecessarily." Dr. Mason, who had joined the observation gallery, answered quietly. "It's called aggressive mobility. Traditional tactical doctrine teaches to maximize cover and minimize exposure. But humans developed a different approach for certain scenarios. Constant movement creates targeting problems while allowing the combatant to dictate the engagement terms." As if demonstrating this principle, Volkov suddenly broke from cover and sprinted directly toward Varric's position. It was suicidal. Varric had clear line of sight and superior elevation. The Krevaxian commander fired 3 precise shots, all of which somehow missed as Volkov performed an erratic zigzagging pattern while continuing his charge. Then, in a move that elicited gasps from the gallery, Volkov threw himself into a forward roll, came up firing, and hit Varric with 2 consecutive shots, one to the torso and one to what would have been a head shot in a real engagement. The simulation immediately ended, declaring Volkov the victor. "Impossible," I breathed. Krevaxian combat reflexes were superior to almost every known species. How had this soft-skinned human outmaneuvered one of our finest warriors? "Not impossible," said Nakamura, who had materialized beside me. "Just human." As Varric and Volkov exited the training annex, the mood in the chamber had shifted palpably. The demonstration had raised more questions than it answered, and many delegates were engaged in heated discussions. "The vote will proceed as scheduled," announced the speaker, bringing order to the chamber once more. "Representatives, please register your positions on Resolution 7729. I hesitated, my claw hovering over the voting interface. Everything I thought I knew about humans was being challenged. Were we making a grave mistake by including these unpredictable beings in our combat forces? Or were we making a greater mistake by excluding them? Before I could decide, the chamber's emergency alert system activated with a piercing wail. Priority 1 alert, announced the automated system. Skith battle group detected entering Epsilon sector. All defensive protocols activated. The timing couldn't have been worse, or perhaps, as I glanced at the strangely calm faces of the human delegation, it couldn't have been better. "It appears," said Dr. Mason, meeting my gaze across the chamber, "that the pudding has arrived." The council chamber erupted into chaos. Representatives from vulnerable systems demanded immediate protection while others called for emergency evacuations. Through it all, the human delegation remained conspicuously calm. "Attention," boomed the speaker over the din. "All representatives to secure locations. Defense Force Command, report to Tactical Operations Center." As delegates scrambled toward the exits, General Volkov approached the speaker's podium with remarkable composure. "Madam Speaker, I request permission for the Earth contingent to join the Defense Force Command staff during this crisis." "Absolutely not," I interjected, pushing my way forward. "This is precisely why humans should be kept away from combat operations. For all we know, they have orchestrated this attack to force our hand on Resolution 7729. Dr. Mason rolled his eyes. "Yes, Ambassador Jorax, we secretly controlled the Skith hive mind and scheduled their invasion to coincide perfectly with our petition. That makes complete sense." Enough. The speaker's bioluminescent patterns flashed with agitation. "This is not the time for petty disputes. General Volkov, your request is granted on a provisional basis. Ambassador Jorax, as senior representative of a founding conclave species, your presence is also required at the command center." "Perfect. I could keep an eye on these humans and ensure they didn't somehow worsen the situation." The Tactical Operations Center was a sprawling, circular room deep beneath the council chambers, designed to coordinate defense responses across the 12 systems. Holographic displays showed real-time battle data, with red indicators representing the advancing Skith forces far more numerous than any previous incursion. Fleet Admiral Zhu Ran, a Vexian with silvery scales and 6 limbs perfectly adapted for multi-system operations, acknowledged our arrival with a curt nod. "The situation is critical. The Skith have deployed a new type of carrier vessel we haven't encountered before. Our standard containment protocols are failing." "How did they penetrate our early warning network?" demanded Commander Varik. "Unknown," replied Admiral Zhu Ran. "They simply appeared. No warp signatures, no transition radiation." Nakamura exchanged a meaningful glance with Volkov. "Quantum tunneling," she said quietly. "We suspected they were developing it." All eyes turned to her. "Explain," ordered Admiral Zhu Ran. "Lun. It's theoretical technology based on principles similar to our FTL drives, but instead of traversing folded space, it creates a temporary bridge between 2 quantum states." She gestured to the display. "The energy signature here suggests a massive tunneling event. They didn't fly past your warning network, they bypassed it entirely." "And you knew this was possible?" I asked incredulously. "We theorized it," corrected Dr. Mason, "based on energy fluctuations detected near Skith territory 3 months ago. We submitted a report to the Science Directorate." Admiral Zhu Ran's inner eyelids flickered in annoyance. "The Science Directorate deemed it speculative and low priority." "Of course they did," muttered Volkov. The tactical display updated with new information. The Skith battle group had split into 3 distinct formations, each targeting a different system. Standard Skith divide and conquer strategy, noted Admiral Zhu Ran. "We will deploy defensive screens at each location and—" "That's exactly what they expect," interrupted Volkov. "The 3-pronged attack is a feint." I bristled at his presumption. "General, perhaps you should leave tactical analysis to those with actual combat experience in space." "The Skith aren't like any enemy you have faced before, Ambassador," replied Volkov, his voice level but intense. "They don't think like we do. Their hive mind processes battlefield information collectively, which allows them to execute complex deceptions across multiple systems simultaneously." He approached the holographic display and manipulated the controls, highlighting patterns in the Skith movements. "Look here and here," he said, pointing to subtle variations in ship formations. "The attack groups at Novan and Thesia sectors are committed, but the Beryllian group is holding something back. Energy readings suggest they are masking a much larger force." Admiral Zhu Ran studied the data. "You believe Beryllian is the primary target?" "No," said Volkov. "I believe it's the staging area for their actual objective, this system, the conclave itself." A stunned silence fell over the command center. "Impossible," declared Commander Varick. "No force could threaten the conclave directly. Our defenses are impenetrable." "Just like your early warning system?" asked Mason with a raised eyebrow. Before Varick could respond, new alerts flooded the tactical display. The Beryllian attack group had suddenly altered course, revealing dozens of additional vessels previously hidden by sophisticated sensor masking. "They are making a run for the Gamma-7 wormhole," said Nakamura, studying the trajectory. "That would put them less than 12 hours from the conclave." Admiral Zhu Ran immediately began issuing orders, redeploying defense assets to intercept the Beryllian group before they could reach the wormhole. But even I could see it was too late. The Skith had too great a head start. "We need a new approach," said Volkov. "Admiral, do you have any stealth-capable fast attack craft in this sector?" 3 Whisper-class reconnaissance vessels, confirmed Admiral Zhu Ran. "But they are observation platforms, not combat ships." "Can they be modified to carry guided munitions?" Admiral Zhu Ran's expression revealed his skepticism. "Theoretically, but what are you suggesting?" Volkov gestured toward the holographic representation of the Gamma-7 wormhole. "The wormhole has a stable geometry maintained by quantum field generators on both sides. And if we could destabilize the near-side generator, we could temporarily collapse the wormhole." "That's insane," I protested. "The generators are heavily shielded. You'd need to get past the Skith fleet to even reach them, and then somehow deliver enough firepower to overcome their protective systems." "Not with conventional weapons," agreed Volkov. "But 3 stealth ships carrying modified tachyon charges could get close enough to trigger a cascading quantum failure in the generator. That would strand half our fleet in the Thesia sector," objected Commander Varick. "A worthwhile trade if it prevents the conclave from falling," countered Admiral Zhu Ran, his tactical mind already assessing the proposal's merits. Dr. Mason stepped forward. "There's another option, one that doesn't sacrifice our defensive capabilities." He brought up schematics for what appeared to be a small fighter craft, unlike any I'd seen in the Defense Force inventory. "This is the XF-39 Stormcrow," he explained. "A human-designed stealth insertion vehicle, single pilot, virtually undetectable by conventional sensors and capable of carrying specialized ordnance." "And where exactly is this miracle ship?" I asked skeptically. "We have 3 prototypes docked at the Conclave Auxiliary Hangar," replied Nakamura. "They were brought here for the Defense Technology Exhibition next month." Admiral Zhu Ran's expression brightened. "These could work. But who would pilot them? The control systems appear uniquely configured for human physiology." "What a coincidence," said Dr. Mason with a smile that seemed far too satisfied. "We happen to have 3 qualified human pilots on station: General Volkov, Commander Nakamura, and myself." "This is outrageous," I exclaimed. "You are not authorized combat roles within the Defense Force. Resolution 7729 hasn't been voted on, let alone approved." "Ambassador Jorax," said Admiral Zhu Ran gravely, "the Conclave Charter grants me emergency powers during a Level 1 threat. I am temporarily authorizing these humans to undertake this mission under Defense Force authority." He turned to the human delegation. "You have 2 hours to prepare. The mission parameters are straightforward. Reach the Gamma-7 wormhole generator, deploy your weapons, and destabilize the structure long enough to prevent the Skith fleet from traversing it." "And the return plan?" asked Commander Varick. Admiral Zhu Ran's inner eyelids flickered the Vexian equivalent of a grimace. "The energy discharge from the generator collapse will destroy anything within the vicinity. This is, functionally, a suicide mission. I expected the humans to balk at this revelation. Instead, they exchanged glances and nodded. "We understand the risks," said Volkov simply. As the humans left to prepare, I found myself following them into the corridor. "This is madness," I told them. "You are sacrificing yourselves for a conclave that hasn't even accepted your species as equals." Nakamura turned to me with a curious expression. "Isn't that what allies do, Ambassador? Fight for each other, regardless of differences." "But why you three? Surely there are other human personnel who could be expended." Dr. Mason laughed. "We are the most qualified pilots available. And frankly, we are the only ones who fully understand how the Stormcrows work. Their neural interfaces were designed specifically for human brains." "Neural interfaces? You plug these machines directly into your nervous systems?" The very thought made my scales itch. "It provides faster reaction times," explained Volkov, "critical for evading detection." I shook my head in disbelief. "Your species continues to baffle me. You develop technologies that literally interface with your brains, yet you were battling each other with chemical explosives less than a century ago." "We contain multitudes," said Mason with another of those irritating smiles. "It's what makes us human." 2 hours later, I stood in the auxiliary hangar watching technicians make final preparations to the Stormcrow fighters. The vessels were smaller than I'd expected, sleek, angular craft with matte black surfaces that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. General Volkov approached me, now dressed in a form-fitting flight suit embedded with neural connection points. "Ambassador," he acknowledged with a nod. "Come to see us off?" "I came to understand," I admitted. "Why risk everything for a conclave that has consistently marginalized your species?" Volkov considered the question seriously. "Throughout human history, we have learned one consistent lesson: survival requires cooperation. The strong protect the vulnerable not out of charity, but necessity. Today, the conclave needs us. Tomorrow, it might be Earth that needs the conclave." A pragmatic answer, I noted. Not the noble self-sacrifice I expected. "Nobility is just pragmatism dressed in better clothes," he replied with a short laugh. "But if you want the emotional truth, we are doing this because it's the right thing to do. And because humans have always been suckers for a good last stand." Before I could respond, Admiral Zhu Ran's voice came over the communication system. "Stormcrow pilots, prepare for immediate deployment. Skith Vanguard has accelerated and will reach the wormhole in 90 minutes. The three humans exchanged quick embraces before climbing into their respective craft. The neural interface connections elicited grimaces of pain as they activated apparently. Even with their advanced technology, the process remained uncomfortable. The hangar doors retracted, revealing the star-filled void beyond. One by one, the Stormcrows glided out, their engines barely visible as dull red glows that quickly faded to nothing. I returned to the Tactical Operations Center, where a specialized display had been configured to track the Stormcrows despite their stealth systems. 3 tiny blue indicators moved steadily toward the Gamma-7 wormhole, while a massive cluster of red markers, the Skith fleet, approached from the opposite direction. "They will never make it in time," murmured Commander Varric beside me. "The Skith will reach the wormhole first." "Perhaps," said Admiral Zhu Ran, "but these humans have consistently defied expectations. I wouldn't count them out yet." The next hour passed in tense silence as we watched the opposing forces draw closer to the critical junction. The Skith maintained their coordinated formation, presenting a seemingly impenetrable barrier between the Stormcrows and their target. "They are changing course," noted Admiral Zhu Ran suddenly, pointing to the blue indicators. "Breaking formation." Indeed, the 3 human vessels had separated, each taking a radically different approach vector. "What are they doing?" I asked. The plan required concentrated firepower to overcome the generator shields. No one had an answer as we watched the scenario unfold. 2 of the Stormcrows appeared to be on direct intercept courses with the Skith fleet, essentially flying into the teeth of the enemy, while the third arced wide around the engagement zone. They are sacrificing 2 ships to create a diversion, realized Commander Varric, allowing the third to reach the target undetected. But which pilot will reach the generator? I wondered aloud. Mason? Nakamura? Volkov? We soon had our answer. The 2 Stormcrows on intercept courses suddenly became visible to standard sensors as they activated weapons systems, revealing themselves as Mason and Nakamura. Their small craft darted through the Skith formation with incredible agility, deploying what appeared to be miniature EMP devices that temporarily disabled nearby enemy vessels. Remarkable piloting, whispered Admiral Zhu Ran. They are creating a corridor of chaos. The Skith responded predictably, redirecting defensive resources to neutralize the visible threats. Ships broke formation, energy weapons lanced through space, and pursuit craft launched to engage the human interlopers. Meanwhile, Volkov's Stormcrow continued its wide approach, now completely undetected as it closed on the wormhole generator. Target locked, came Volkov's voice over the communication channel. Deploying tachyon charges in 3, 2, 1. The tactical display erupted with energy readings as the charges detonated against the generator's shielding. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then the generator's signature began fluctuating wildly. Generator destabilizing, reported a technician. Wormhole collapse imminent. For your worry. Stormcrow 3, get out of there, ordered Admiral Zhu Ran. The negative, replied Volkov calmly. Shields absorbed too much of the blast. I need to deliver the backup charge directly to the primary conduit. I felt a chill run through my scales. He was going to fly directly into the generator. General, that's suicide, protested Admiral Zhu Ran. With respect, Admiral, that was always the mission parameter. Volkov's voice remained steady. Stormcrows 1 and 2, disengage and return to base. Not happening, General, came Mason's reply as his craft executed an impossible turn to evade Skith pursuers. We finish this together. The 3 Stormcrows converged on the generator, each targeting a different critical system. The Skith realized their intention too late, redirecting their fire toward the generator to prevent its destruction. 10 seconds to optimal firing position, reported Nakamura. 5 seconds, added Mason. Charge is armed, finished Volkov. It's been an honor. The tactical display flashed blindingly as all 3 Stormcrows detonated their remaining ordnance simultaneously. The wormhole generator's signature spiked, then rapidly degraded. The stable energy pattern of the wormhole itself twisted, contorted, and finally collapsed, entirely cutting off the Skith invasion force from their reinforcements. And with that final act of sacrifice, the 3 blue indicators representing the human pilots vanished from our screens. The command center fell silent. Even Commander Varric, who had been most vocally opposed to human combat integration, bowed his head in respect. Signal Defense Force vessels in adjacent sectors, ordered Admiral Zhu Ran after a moment. The Skith fleet is isolated. We will engage and neutralize them before they can establish another route to the Conclave. As the command center returned to organized activity, I found myself standing immobile, staring at the place on the tactical display where the 3 humans had made their last stand. Ambassador Jorax called Admiral Zhu Ran. The emergency session of the Council will reconvene in 1 hour to address the ongoing crisis. Your presence is requested. I nodded absently, my thoughts elsewhere. 1 hour later, I stood before the reconvened Galactic Council. Many representatives attended via secure holographic connection, but a surprising number had returned to the chamber in person, despite the ongoing alert. Ambassador Jorax acknowledged the speaker. You have requested priority speaking rights regarding Resolution 7729. Yes, Madam Speaker. I stepped to the center of the chamber, looking around at the assembled representatives. Today we witnessed something unprecedented. 3 humans individuals not even officially recognized as combat personnel by this body sacrificed their lives to protect the Conclave from a Skith invasion force. I paused, gathering my thoughts. I have spent my career advocating against human integration into our combat forces. I believed their volatile nature and aggressive tendencies made them unsuitable allies in matters of war. I was wrong. Murmurs swept through the chamber. The humans demonstrated not only tactical brilliance and technological innovation, but a willingness to sacrifice for the greater good that many of our species would struggle to match. They gave their lives without hesitation to protect a conclave that had not even granted them the dignity of full participation. I straightened to my full height, my decision made. I hereby withdraw my opposition to Resolution 7729 and formally move that it be approved by unanimous consent. Furthermore, I propose that Generals Mason, Nakamura, and Volkov be posthumously awarded the Star of Conclave Valor, our highest military decoration. The chamber erupted in discussion, but the outcome was never in doubt. Resolution 7729 passed unanimously, officially removing all species-based restrictions on human combat roles within the Galactic Defense Force. As the session concluded, I made my way toward the exit, my mind still processing the day's events. A junior aide rushed up to me, his breathing labored from exertion. Ambassador. Urgent message from Defense Force Medical. What is it? I asked, not breaking stride. They found them. Rescue vessels located emergency pods near the collapsed wormhole. All 3 humans survived. I stopped abruptly. That's impossible. The energy discharge would have vaporized everything in the vicinity. Apparently, said the aide, consulting his datapad, they ejected microseconds before detonation using some kind of temporal displacement system. The doctors don't fully understand it, but they are stable and recovering. I felt an unexpected surge of emotion relief. Admiration? Perhaps both. Where are they now? Medical Bay 7. They are awake and asking about the outcome of the vote. Without another word, I changed direction and headed toward the medical facilities. I had underestimated these humans at every turn. I would not make that mistake again. Medical Bay 7 was a cacophony of activity. Defense Force personnel, medical staff, and various representatives crowded the entrance, all trying to get a glimpse of the heroes of the hour. I used my ambassador's authority to push through, finally entering the recovery room where the 3 humans lay in medical beds, connected to monitoring equipment, but remarkably intact given what they had endured. Ambassador Jorax greeted Dr. Mason weakly. Come to verify our demise personally? On the contrary, I replied. I came to inform you that Resolution 7729 passed unanimously. Humans are now officially welcome in all combat roles within the Defense Force. Well, said Nakamura with a pained smile, that was worth almost dying for. General Volkov studied me with those unnervingly perceptive human eyes. You changed your vote. It wasn't a question, but I answered anyway. I did. Your actions today proved that I was wrong about humans. Don't feel bad, Ambassador, said Mason. Most people underestimate us the first time. It's practically a human tradition. A tradition you cultivate deliberately, I suspect, I observed. Those Stormcrow fighters, they were never intended for a technology exhibition, were they? The 3 humans exchanged glances that confirmed my suspicion. Let's just say we like to be prepared, replied Volkov diplomatically. And sometimes, timing is everything. As I left the medical bay, I reflected on the events that had transpired. The humans had orchestrated a masterful demonstration of their combat value not through rhetoric or simulations, but through actual heroism in the face of a genuine threat. Had they somehow known about the Skith invasion in advance? Had they deliberately positioned their advanced fighters at the Conclave for precisely this eventuality? I would probably never know for certain. What I did know was that the Galactic Elite had banned humans from combat for everyone's safety, and we had been catastrophically wrong. Their inclusion would change the Defense Force forever, introducing new tactics, technologies, and perspectives that our more homogeneous strategies had lacked. The humans were dangerous, unpredictable, and occasionally reckless. And now, they were officially our allies in combat. The galaxy would never be the same again. But perhaps, just perhaps, it would be safer for having these strange, resilient beings fighting at our side,